How people buy in 2026 and beyond. I've done a few variations of this talk in Zooms with segments of our group, so you might have heard pieces of it. You have not heard this in its entirety because, as I continue to learn and continue to be attentive to things, this keeps evolving. And the way that people buy is continually changing, and that's a good thing. I think some of my favorite stuff about entrepreneurship is that I believe that it's like this combination of behavioral psychology and systems, right? The systems are specific to whoever you're serving and, whatever that intellectual property is that allows them to go from where they are to where they want to be. And so Doug talked a lot about that stuff yesterday. I think our playbooks are as good as it gets in helping independent gym owners install those systems. The behavioral psychology piece of it is basically, how are people operating? How are they engaging with the world? How are they engaging with the things that we are doing? And certain pieces of that, I don't want to say never change, but they change really slowly. Like, I can show you ads from people who wanted to lose weight and have more vitality and have more energy and look and feel better from the late 1800s. That's not dramatically different, right? People, for probably as long as we can chart history, have wanted to feel important and valued and appreciated and all that stuff. Like, so there's that piece of this that's just not changing a whole lot that we always have to be cognizant of. But the way that people engage with the world around them, right? The way that people connect with the community, the way people consume information, the way people are entertained, the way people connect with businesses, it is in continual evolution. And if you are not only sensitive to that, but if you're not acting on that, you're always going to feel like you're maybe one step behind. And it is like, if we look at this, and I'm going to use just a personal experience piece of this for a minute. When I got into the commercial side of the fitness industry, and like I said, I came from college athletics. I was a college baseball coach, college strength coach, taught things like sports psychology in university, also taught fun things like bowling class and things like that during the spring when I was out a bunch for games. There was always kind of this formula, and this isn't exactly it, the ad page trial member, but it was close, right? It was ad call trial member or something like that. That's how we engaged with the marketplace a lot of the time. And the ad could have been a newspaper ad, it could have been a billboard, it could have been a Yellow Pages ad, it could have been a direct mail piece, right? I mean, I did really well with radio spots. And the mechanics, when we go online, kind of the same thing. A lot of you probably at some point in your journey have had plenty of success with this, we're going to run an ad or we're going to get an offer in front of somebody. If it's organic or paid, it's going to drive them to a page, whether it was a woohoo form or a landing page or a Facebook form from an ad. It's going to drive them to a page, and they're going to register for some sort of experiential thing, a trial. Paid, free, doesn't really matter. It's essentially just a sample. And then ideally we convert them to a paying member. It might have been a consult, right? And that is how things worked. That's how they worked when I got into business, whether it was the analog type of version of this, or that's how it worked when you guys were doing this whole one funnel away thing, right? Like, and I can go back and see so many people had done so well with, hey, I'm going to run a quick boosted post or ad to a woohoo form, and I'm going to fill up my challenge in like 72 hours. The problem is, and we talked about this briefly at the end of the day yesterday, like with Menachem, is like, if you spend all your time hanging on to what used to be, like that's not being nostalgic, that's being delusional, right? Like that's not the way the world works now. And we always have to be operating the way the world works today and kind of trying to skate to where the puck is going. So how do people buy now? Well, instead of it being this linear path or this funnel, they're kind of just being immersed in stuff, right? They see a post, maybe they catch a testimonial, they see your ad, they listen to a podcast, they follow you on Instagram, maybe they ask a friend or they see somebody wearing a t-shirt, and eventually maybe they reach out. And it's not linear, and it's not like it all happens in the same sequence, because they may bounce around a little bit, and we'll talk about how to organize that. Right before we all kind of showed up and arrived, Todd and I were talking about a mutual friend, acquaintance of ours, young man, he's about 30 years old, Sam Stone, and he has really kind of had a rocket ship trajectory in the local real estate world here. And a lot of it is because he just approaches it differently than everybody else. He's got a podcast that positions him as kind of authority, and it's not even a real estate podcast, right? It's this kind of entrepreneurial podcast, but it gets him front and center in front of movers and shakers, right? And he is continually doing videos, and his videos look way different than everybody else's real estate videos. He's in there. He's like the star of the show, but he's pointing all this stuff out instead of the people who use kind of the canned, hey, here's a video walk through the house. And this is a guy who is just leapfrogged in front of everybody else who might have started at a similar time in real estate in this local area. I mean, it's really impressive. But he understands how people actually operate now. He understands how they buy. And for us, we have to understand that as much as our kind of logical brain would want this joining a training gym to be this linear decision-making process, that's not how this works. It's a decision moment that is a result of a whole lot of other things happening. And so we're going to set ourselves up to win in this environment. See, so the funnel thing, like it works on paper. And it's funny, Doug and I talk about this a lot because Doug is this very neat, organized, linear brain guy. And I probably operate in a lot of shades of gray and a lot of things. And so it's a fun kind of back and forth, but it can feel frustrating, right? Because you do all the right things. You're told, hey, we got to run ads. And I run an ad and I get this many impressions or I get this many clicks, but only one person joins. And so what happened to all the other people? My ad was good. Or maybe you're like, no, my ad didn't work. My ad agency is doing a bad job. Or I need a different offer or whatever. And it's like, no, if you ran it on Meta, it's a commercial, right? I mean, think about how people consume social media. They consume it for their own entertainment. They don't go to Meta to shop. They don't go to Instagram to shop. They go to be entertained. And I mean, we can define what entertainment is in different ways, and it may not be like the exact same thing as binging a Netflix series or binging a podcast, but they're doing it because it's providing them some other gratification than the intention of shopping. So we're there, they see us, and if they see us, it's a good thing, right? Because now they're aware, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But just because they didn't buy doesn't mean that they're a bad fit, they're non-qualified, they're a tire kicker, and all that other crap that people say all the time. They didn't disappear, right? They're not saying no, they're saying not right now. And it's not even this like in conscious not right now. It's just there's like a number of deposits we're probably going to have to make in this relationship before that cup is full and overflowing and they're ready. So, like, because if we think about the world that we operate in, and for some of you, you may just intuitively get this, and for some of you, you may kind of push back against it. I'm going to tell you that this is a fact. This is not an opinion. The gym world for the average person is not super comfortable. Like if they're not in your gym or a gym, it could be a number of reasons, and it's probably a combination of them, right? It could be the intimidation of, I don't want to go and be the person who can't make it through the warm-up. Like, I mean, how many of you have heard at some point in your time as a business owner, hey, I need to get in shape to come see you, or some iteration of that? I mean, and our instinctive response is, well, that's what we help you do. But what they really mean is, I don't want to embarrass myself. Right? And that's a real thing. Whether or not we understand it, because that's not maybe the world we're operating with, it's a real thing. Now, on the flip side of that, if I ask to see somebody's financials in the gym industry, a lot of times they're like hesitant because they're not proud of it. They're uncomfortable with it. Even if it's the right thing to do. Hey, it doesn't matter where it is. We'll fix it. Like, that's our job. But it's the same kind of feeling. And then the other realities of this are the timing may not be right. Right? Like, I mean, if somebody made a really, really compelling offer for you guys to go to the movies last night in your hometown, and it was something you wanted to see and you were really excited about doing it, you were here. You would have had to decline. You would have had to take a rain check. Did that mean that you were disinterested? Did that mean you were a tire kicker? You were unqualified to watch the movie? No. Timing's bad. And then the financial piece of it could be a thing. A spouse kind of friction point could be a thing. And that's not, oh, I've got this unconditionally and like unsupportive spouse. I mean, we don't know the backstory. We don't know, like, how many times have they bought a treadmill or an elliptical or some piece of equipment that sits in the basement and they had the best of intentions and it didn't work. So there are all these things that potentially are going on in this person's world that they're trying to reconcile, right? Like they're trying to come to grips with, and they need to have the confidence and belief and faith that they can do this outweigh all those internal objections. Or maybe they joined the gym in the past and it was just not a good experience. And it happens a lot. And guess what? That may not be your fault, but it is now your problem if you want them as a client. And we kind of fight that too, right? Like we get frustrated. I mean, I hear it all the time. Hey, I had a bad experience with somebody who does what you do. And the first thing coming to my mind is, they don't do what I do. But we've got to move forward in that relationship and build some trust before they're willing to take that leap of faith. So the thing about it is, though, and I hear this a bunch, and most of you have either said this or wanted to say this somewhere along your time is, you know, those people were unqualified. I need more qualified leads, because the funnel kind of treats them as lost, right? And there's a big difference between unqualified and not ready to decide. And here's the other part about this. Now, there are more options than ever before. And those options are not exclusively brick and mortar gyms that are competing in your same geographic area. Like we had Eric Hammer here yesterday. Eric, I mean, my kid's gonna be at his place in 30 minutes to train. Eric has competitors I don't have any awareness about. There's a gym like right behind us here. I didn't know this existed until the last time we were at this meeting. And I've been here before with Todd. I mean, there are competitors everywhere. So there's more of that than ever before, but there's also no end to the number of apps and online solutions and home exercise equipment that, you know, are all designed to compete with you because they're trying to solve problems similar to what you do. And our default a lot of times is, well, but we're better than them. Maybe, but it's our job to prove it, right? It's our job to provide evidence because more noise, more options means less attention on us too, right? Like, I will be the first to tell you that in the markets that I went into and owned brick and mortar gyms, I went in and knew 0 people. Like the day before we opened in my first location, I had been to the town once before in my life. Second location, I was there during a bunch of the real estate hunt and all that stuff, but had never spent an overnight there. So there were some challenges, but in many ways it was a whole lot easier too, because there was less competition, there was less noise, right? There was not this kind of situation where if somebody was curious, they could just sit back on the internet and be anonymous and search and never engage with you, right? If they wanted to experience it, typically they had to go walk through the door. They couldn't just go watch videos and look at all your Google reviews and all that stuff. So it's different. In some ways it's easier, in some ways it's harder. So they're overloaded. They've got trust that's kind of been eroded, and they have longer decision-making cycles because of a lot of this when it comes to our type of selling. Now, with an impulse buy, that may not be the case. Like, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot to decide what am I gonna have for lunch. It doesn't take a whole lot to decide what am I gonna go buy on Amazon or whatever else. But we're not asking somebody to make a $25 impulse buy. And we have to be at peace with that. Even if we give them a free sample of what we're doing, whether it's a day or a week or 2 weeks, that's still a much bigger investment of them than $50. It's their time. It's overcoming their internal objections, the fears, the insecurities, right? It is changing their schedule. It is asking other people to maybe be inconvenienced because, I mean, simple thing, right? Like if Holly and I are both here, Alex doesn't drive, he's got to go have a different ride to get to where he's going, right? Simple things, and it's not like it's crazy inconvenient. They're easy problems to solve, but they're still inconveniences, right? Little bumps in the road that always slow the decision-making process down. And so trust has to be built before the sale, and the way trust is built usually is more independent of us than it's ever been. Because I can get online and I can do all sorts of research and I can be voyeuristic and curious and never engage with you. And consumers are smarter than they've ever been, right? They're more savvy. When I got into this industry, about 13% of the US population belonged to a gym at any given time, right? They called that the penetration rate, right? Now that number is approaching 30%, which means more people have a previous experience with a gym than ever before. So let's do some kind of back of the napkin kind of math here, right? Almost 30% of people in the US at any given time belong to some sort of gym, whether it's a training gym or Planet Fitness or whatever else. Obesity rates in the US are higher than they've ever been. You do the math. Are they going to come to you saying, man, this whole gym thing has been awesome for me? Or are they going to say, I've tried things in the past and they didn't work out to the level that I expected or hoped? So that's why some of this trust has to be built. So let's think about what's happening inside the buyer's head at this point. And this is stuff I didn't really talk about when I've done kind of shortened versions of this in the past. I mean, one thing we have to accept is this is not a transaction where they're buying a membership with you, right? They're not buying a number of sessions that last for an hour and have access to this equipment. They are buying a version of themselves they would rather be, right? They are buying this future, better version of them. And they have to trust that you're the guide in this journey to get them there. So this whole membership is nothing more than a vehicle, right? I mean, you've heard this whole line. I know Dan John talks about it, but a coach, right, is like if we go back to the 1800s, right, a coach is a form of transport, right? I mean, a coach is pulled behind horses, transporting you somewhere. And then it became a motor coach, right? So it's a vehicle designed to get you to a destination. And so the whole thing feels risky because they probably wouldn't be hiring you in most cases or joining your facility in most cases if they were already at this desired destination. Sure, there are instances where that is not exactly true. I could move from where I live to Norton Commons out here, and maybe I come join a gym here, even if I belong there, because it's more convenient. I already have the habits, I already have the things that I like, I'm already at that place, that destination, but other variables in my life have changed, so I need a new spot. That happens, but that's not the most common way that this happens. So if it feels risky, we have to get them to trust us. We have to remove the perception of risk. And that means that they have to start leaning in. They got to buy in. They got to see the stuff that you're putting out in the world and say, that's the right place for me. Like mentally, they're reconciled. They're not saying it this way, but they're thinking like, this is the place that I have the highest probability of success. This is the place that can help me do the things that the other places couldn't, or help me do the things that I used to be able to do long ago. And this is a feeling. This is an internal negotiation long before it is some sort of sales negotiation with you. And the emotional side of this has to happen first. And then it'll justify the whole logical piece, right? And so, I mean, I don't want to get too abstract with you, but I want you to think about this for a minute, right? You are not buying, like you as you are not buying. You're not buying to stay where you are, right? You're buying as this future self. And I would argue that's why you're here too. You're here because you want something to be better than it currently is, right? And this wasn't a financial decision for you to be here because you were in the program paying not here, doing Zooms, getting playbooks, all that stuff, right? We don't charge extra to come to meetings. We're like the only people on the planet that don't charge extra to come to meetings. Because the ask isn't just, here, pay us to come to this meeting. The ask is, invest time, get out of your comfort zone, step away from the day-to-day of the business, which is already going to help you improve the business, and come be in the room. And there's an opportunity cost. Being here means you're nowhere else. So you're doing that because you want the future you to be in a better spot than the current you, right? Them too. All right, so I've taken to calling this a client decision loop. Maybe like we've talked about it through the lens of like an ecosystem or whatever else. I think the most important thing for you to appreciate is this is not a straight line and this is not a funnel, right? A funnel implies gravity's doing all the work. They're just, you put enough people in at the top, a few of them arrive at the bottom. A straight line implies that there's this linear sequential decision-making process that people follow. Neither of those are accurate. A loop is a whole lot closer, right? The first thing that has to happen is they need to become aware of you. You are, as much as it hurts to accept, you are invisible to the majority of the people in your market. We talked about this yesterday, coming from like the people who stayed like at the Drury or got off at the exit at 265 between there and here said, how many businesses could you name that you saw on that road? And the prevailing number was 1. There's a bunch, right? Did anybody pay any more attention going out? There are tons of them. I mean, like counting, getting off and going back into the pockets of stuff like where Cabela's is or whatever, there's 100 plus. Everything from Dunkin' Donuts to Sherwin-Williams. And all of them were invisible to you for the most part driving through here, right? Now I know you don't live here, but I live in Louisville. Most of them are invisible to me. Most every business in Norton Commons is invisible to me. So job number 1 is we need to be discovered. We need to be visible. We need to be where the people we want to reach are. The easiest way to do that is to kind of shrink the number of people you want to reach to the highest probability people, right? The 50 plus crowd, the athletes, whoever you serve. And they need to discover you, right? And they need to have a positive first impression. I mean, none of this is new though, right? Like we're talking about this, but if you were married or in a relationship, the first thing that had to happen was there was discovery, right? Like you had to become aware that the other person existed and you had to have step 1 in the conversation. Somebody had to meet. That's it. So we have to be discovered. And so being discovered requires us to be easily discoverable. That means Google business listings, that means ads, that means showing up in the places where your people are going to be. Stage 2 of this kind of loop is they start to observe. And they're going to observe in the ways that are most comfortable to them. I will tell you, for me, I do not have a TikTok account. My best friend from back home sends me TikToks probably once a week, and every time I reply, I say, I don't have TikTok. And so if somebody were trying to get me to observe, that would be a losing battle if it were on TikTok, right? So whoever your people are, you've got to be where they can observe. And some of this is just being in the normal places that they engage, whether that's Facebook or Instagram online, but it also means when they go down that rabbit hole of searching, your Google business listing has to be good. And it has to have the reviews from the people that are like them. And it means that if you have the ability to retarget people with ads and kind of chase them around, and I know we've all been there, right? Doug talked about it yesterday. He's being chased around the internet from all these dog product things because they're getting a dog. So we got to make it easy for them to observe. And then ideally, if we're choosing the right people, there's going to be some overlap, right? There's going to be people in their social circle, because they like attracts like. They're going to be people in their social circle that have already had an experience with us. So there are going to be conversations. There are going to be times that we're going to post a review of somebody, or we're going to post a testimonial of somebody online, and they're going to know them, right? We were talking about that Sam Stone gentleman earlier. I knew of Sam loosely, but I had never paid attention to his podcast until Todd was on his podcast. And so I paid more attention then, right? Because there was a commonality. Like I knew somebody there, so I paid more attention. And this observation stage is when they start to kind of like move towards you a little bit, right? They're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing some stuff that fits for me. I'm seeing somebody that I can relate to, I can connect with. The people in that room, like if you pull back the curtain and are showing walk through of the facility, or you're showing examples of sessions, and they're like, I see people that look like me there. I see something that fits there. And like they're always kind of observing and either gaining trust or losing trust, right? And so the third stage in this is it's just safety. It is trust building and safety. And they're trying to think about this through the lens of what's the probability of this working? What do I lose if it doesn't work? And there are a bunch of internal objections. We've all heard in the sales world, objection handling, overcoming objections. Most of that stuff happens before they ever talk to you, right? And these objections are all very real. The fear, the concern about the embarrassment of failing again, the value exchange, the money piece of it. Like, okay, am I going to go spend a bunch of money and it's not going to work for me? And we have to think about it through their lens. This is the hardest thing for you as a business owner, because you've seen all the people that you've helped. You have all this confidence that you can help these people. You believe that you are the best solution available for them. And you're probably right. But you also get to know things they don't know. And this is the stuff that is normal and natural for you at this stage of life. Maybe it always wasn't, but this is your place now. There are plenty of things that are very normal and natural and comfortable for each of us and are completely foreign to other people. And so until we can try to see the world through their window a little bit, we're always going to be at odds, because we're going to project those things that we're comfortable with on other people and expect them to see the world through that same lens. They don't. And we've got to help them get past this and help them lower that perception of risk. That's our job, right? Because we know if we get them inside, I mean, how many of you have said to somebody, and maybe us, if we can just get them through the door, like they'll stay, they buy, whatever, our close rate's great. Show of hands, how many of you have said that? Then maybe you need to work harder at just getting them through the door and stop complaining that they're not there, right? Like maybe we need to think about the reasons they're not there and start addressing those. So what happens though, if we can get this, like disarm some of these objections, I don't think about it as overcome the objection. This isn't a fight. This is, I'm trying to lock arms with somebody, hold hands with somebody, and kind of start to walk them towards us, right? This isn't a battle. This is building trust. And you don't get to build trust by yelling at somebody, right? By telling them they're wrong. So we get through that. Then the next stage is engagement. They actually engage with us. It becomes a two-way conversation, not a one-way conversation, not anonymous consumption. Engage may be reply to your email. It may be fill out your form. It may be go on your website and connect. It may be call the facility. But it's that first step in two-way conversation. And I've used like relationship analogies plenty of times because there's like this natural progression of a relationship that if you kind of disrupt that too much, you're creepy, right? Like there's this, I meet you, there's some small talk, and then that talk escalates to more interactive stuff, right? It's like yes, no, multiple choice type questions, simple to answer questions, to like essay type answers. Like, so we're trying to move this relationship forward, and they need to engage, and then our ability to make that engagement comfortable for them is the precursor to them coming in and doing something experiential. So think about if somebody replies to your email and says they're interested in more information, are you making the information about them or are you making the information about you? Well, if you want them to continue the conversation, you probably have a higher probability of doing that if you make it about them. People want you to be interested more than they want you to be interesting. So the engagement piece of this, we talk about speed to lead because, I mean, people want this sort of stuff real time. People aren't super patient. People's attention spans are short. So the sooner that we engage, the higher probability they stay engaged, right? And I mean, like all you have to do to think about this in kind of a practical way is like, tell me what websites you were on between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. yesterday morning. Can anybody tell me what all websites they were on? What were you seeing? What did you see on social media? What posts did you scroll through? Like, and that's yesterday. Like, cool, what? I mean, all of you guys literally pay to spend time with me and Doug. Like, tell me what I posted on social media yesterday or today. And you got your computer open, you looking at this? So, yeah, so that was in the private group, and I've made 3 posts on Facebook today already, and nobody could throw out one, and you're paying to be here. So think about the people that don't know you very well. Like, we got to work to move that conversation forward. The minute they raise their hand, we got to be ready to engage with them and make them comfortable. That is job one with that engagement. We got to make them comfortable. And so you get this very small sliver of attention. So we want them, when we engage, our goal is to move this towards experience. And experience, your best bet is get them through the door. I've been advocating for free trials, free samples of stuff since, I don't know, 2005 when I first was talking to people about this stuff. But to be fair, I can trace this back to advocating for this since like 1995 when I thought about, well, if we get them on campus, then a higher probability of them become players in our program. Same concept. And there were plenty of people back then, the Thomas Plumbers of the world or whatever else, told me, well, that's crazy or whatever else. And to be fair, he was wrong. Like, it doesn't have to be free. It has to be whatever's attractive to them. And for some people, free is unattractive because there is this kind of perception of what's the catch? Or it is like this perception of low value because of low price. But the trick here is whatever their kind of barrier to coming and having an experience is, it's our job to figure it out. Whether it was money or length of commitment or the mental perception of how this experience is going to be, those are all objections. And I just want somebody to walk through the door, because I know that if I get an hour with you, I mean, how long would you have to post online? How many posts would you have to make? How many emails would you have to send to get an hour of somebody's attention? Because it's not you had to post an hour worth of stuff. I posted 3 things today. None of you who I already have a relationship have consumed it. So it might take you 3 years to get an hour's worth of their attention, doing it 5 seconds at a time, and they see 1/3 of what you put out. Right? Like, so our best bet is we got to have them come in for an experience. We got to, and if we can't get them in for an experience, then it has to be a 2-way conversation, a Zoom, a phone call. There has to be something, right? Where they get to spend enough time with us in as close to an uninterrupted environment as we can have, right? I mean, it's not like they're not going to look at their phone during that hour at some point. Like, I mean, it's just not the world we live in anymore, but it's as close to having their captive attention as we get. And I'm just saying the first hour, like maybe you do a 1-week trial of something or a 2-week sample of something, paid or free. I don't really care. I care that whatever their objection is, you figure out how to overcome it, or address it, so they come in. Now, what we have to do is figure out a way to help them say, man, that was better than I expected it to be. If they say that, as long as the logistics of this work, finance, schedule, they join. But, I mean, that's the beauty of value. The price is the price, the deliverable is the deliverable. Their perception of it, if it exceeds it, they feel like they got a good deal. If it doesn't exceed it, they feel like they got a bad deal. Right? So our job is to make it feel better than they expected. They need to feel more valued and appreciated and important. They need to feel like this is the place they can succeed. They need to feel that this is the place that they fit. And the answer to that question determines everything. And so the cool part about this is, in today's landscape, if they do fit, then they get to go back and feed the loop. They become the social proof. They become the advocate. They become the person's story that you're sharing. They become the person in the video or the Google review that attracts more people like them. That's how this actually works. So here's something, again, I've not talked about this at all anywhere else, is, and I almost hesitate to even use the word content, because I think content's kind of a stupid word. I think content doesn't, I mean, it's like an article. Like, no, I mean, we want something valuable to share with somebody, and it has a job. You know, I think we got to bring it to life. Discovery content, it needs to be specific enough that it works. Side note for you guys, have you ever seen me put out content to work with attorneys? Like me work with attorneys? No. I've done business coaching for attorneys. Have you ever seen it for medical doctors? Nope. Done business coaching for medical doctors. I can go down the list. I've done coaching for a lot of other people in a lot of other industries that have all been like referral things. But for me to put something out, it needs to be specific enough that it speaks to the people I actually want to attract. Right? Lead magnets, any of it has to be specific enough that you're like, that's for me. That stops me from scrolling and saying, man, that hits, right? The observation stuff needs to make somebody feel comfortable, right? They need to feel, everything needs to feel familiar. It needs to feel like, wait a minute, I could see myself there. Trust stuff is social proof. Social proof in every way, shape, and form. And then engagement, what's the low friction way to get somebody to say yes that they're not going to have regrets about saying yes to? And paid, free, I don't really care. I want you to walk through the front door. You walk through the front door, I mean, it's kind of a tryout for both of us. We're going to find out if you like me. We're going to find out if I like you. We're going to find out if this is going to be a good partnership together, because that's the thing about selling in our industry that I believe that gets lost in most of the sales books and materials and courses and stuff out there. Selling is the beginning of the real relationship. It is not the end. It is not closing the relationship. That is why, to date, the only person that I've ever let help sell things in our business in 20 years of doing this is Fred. Because there are plenty of people who are good closers that are available, but do they care about the relationship after the closing of the sale? And frankly, that's the part that I care about, like by a multiple of 100. That's why people stick around for, well, how many of you have been involved in what we do in some way, shape, or form for more than 5 years? Synchronous or asynchronous. So it's broken, like straight or intermittent, more than 5 years. That's like 60, 70% of the room, right? I would be willing to guess that if we go to any other fitness business coaching environment in North America, that number wouldn't be half of that. And that it doesn't mean they're not good at what they do. It's just that they're more interested in the close part of it than the actual relationship part of it. And that probably comes from coming from a different background, where getting a college baseball player to say yes is just kind of the beginning of everything, right? Like that's the way that relationships work in my brain. So we need to think about this almost like this trust bank. What we're trying to do is make deposits in this relationship over and over and over. And I started talking about deposits and withdrawals when it came to like email stuff, like, 2009. This is not new, but it's not email, right? It's however they're engaging with you. Like, and I know I'm the guy who sends emails every day for like eternity, but I am connection agnostic. I don't really care. Like if you told me I had to send things like by courier pigeon to build a relationship, that would be my pick. Like if that's the best option. So we need to be useful. We need to deliver things that are specific to them. We need to give them reviews that fit. It's not enough to just get like a 5-star review, right? We want a 5-star review that speaks to the things that they care about. And if the person sees a bunch of 5-star reviews and it just talks about weight loss, and they're like, I'm already taking whatever their preferred medication is for weight loss, that doesn't necessarily move them, right? It needs to speak to the things that are important to them too. And the withdrawals, like what are withdrawals? Hard sells, being bland and boring. So They don't pay attention to you. And we can talk about AI stuff here at some point in the very near future, but a lot of the way that people create information, intellectual property on AI leads them to be bland and boring. They're checking the box of I'm putting stuff out, I'm discoverable, they can observe me. It's like, it's not really you, it's not really unique, it's not speaking to them. So if you're going to use technology to help you create things, it has to be stuff that makes a deposit, right? And then here's the hidden deposit, and I borrowed this from a gentleman that he's a friend, he's somebody I've learned from, a gentleman named Dean Jackson, this 3 mile famous concept. People need to know you. You need to be, I would call it locally unavoidable. You need to kind of be the mayor of whatever your segment of fitness or performance is in your respective market. Like when Ryan's there, it's like he doesn't need to be the mayor of all things fitness. He needs to be the mayor of golf performance, right? And so what that means to me is when somebody brings up a conversation about golf performance and amongst their friends, they're sitting in the clubhouse after playing 18 holes, whatever else, it's inevitable that his name gets mentioned. That is what 3 Mile Famous is, right? It is inevitable that person's name gets brought up in the conversation if we were talking about moms in Jill's local market and moms are interacting, having a conversation about this stuff, and somebody brings up, hey, you know what, I really want to feel better, look better, whatever the talking point is, doesn't mean she has to be the only person who ever gets brought up or whatever else, but she has to be mentioned. Like that is our job. And what's great about that is it magnifies everything else. It makes your ads infinitely more effective. It makes your website higher converting. It makes the pricing far more palatable, right? Because people are pre-sold. They've heard good things. They go in expecting it to be good. It's kind of like a referral in many ways. So, since Todd is in Louisville and Todd's been more of a Louisvillian, is that even the right way to say it? I don't know. Close enough. Longer than me, and he's certainly way more immersed in the Louisville scene. If he makes a recommendation to me of, hey, go to this restaurant or try this thing or you need to meet this person, I am pre-sold. It doesn't mean the restaurant can't screw it up. It doesn't mean the person can't make a bad impression. But that's essentially what being 3 Mile Famous is. People go in and they're pre-sold. So if we do that, that is how we really can lay the foundation for that whole kind of cycle that we want to do. And I don't want to be vague about it. What that means is you probably can't just hide behind your computer. It means, like when we do the monthly marketing plans, there's always a relationship component. And relationship could be getting out and meeting local business owners, going to chamber events, being in the community in some way, shape, or form. It could be going and having coffee with people. It could be, just making sure that you are out in other people's kind of territory and not always just sitting in your 4 walls and waiting for people to come into yours. And so if we're that way, if we're famous that way, it's a whole lot harder to copy, right? I mean, we operate in an era where, you can use AI to essentially like copy somebody's entire online persona. We can go to Meta and see whatever ads they're actively running. They can borrow that all day long. but they're probably not willing to go be in the room, right? They're probably not willing to go out and have 100 cups of coffee this year with people and meet. Go to networking events, go to visit local businesses. So we do that in the hopes that we influence what the town believes about us, what people say about us when we're not around. Bless you. So think about the way, this is the way this is going. And the people who fight this they're gonna be in trouble, right? This isn't just capture the lead, close the sale anymore, right? It's be seen, and we got to be remembered, and we got to be trusted, and then that's how we're chosen. And people choose you. We talked about retention yesterday being tougher because, part of retention before was just 12, 18, 24-month contracts. Now it's most places don't require that. Most people say, well, if I don't like this, I'll go to the next thing, or if I'm bored with this, I'll go to the next thing. Places that were the hottest show in town, the Orange Theories of the world, have seen a major downturn because there are other options available. And if all you were was you renting me access to a workout, on to the next thing. Let's see if something else is cool. I can always come back. So we need to think about the way people buy now, right? We need to be the safest name, safest brand, safest business in this person's head and stop playing by the rules that might have worked in 2019 or 2017 or whenever else. And if the place feels familiar when they walk in because they've seen all the videos and they know what to expect and their friend goes there and they've heard good things, that's how this whole trust thing compounds in today's market. And once it compounds, you're the one wearing the crown, right? That's pretty tough to beat. All right. That's it. That's how people buy.